What's going on, everybody? Jeff Holiday here, and today we're going to be talking about a new potential cure for COVID-19 along the same lines as hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. There is now a new challenger.
Here comes a new challenger. You must crush them.
This is betadine.
Beta!
Okay, actually, it's betadine. Betadine is an iodine-based treatment largely for topical use that kills bacteria and is also used as a cleaner in hospitals, especially ERs. Basically, it's an antiseptic. Who else is doing betadine? The ivermectin made me feel strong, healthy, full of energy. Been adding a betadine gargle for the past 3 days, and I'm feeling even healthier, even stronger. I heard a doc on Newsmax say betadine and iodine, but I haven't tried it yet. I plan to, though. Is it terrible to gargle? Not bad. Just kind of a clean taste. How much do you add to other liquids? The doctor that gave me a script for ivermectin for humans also said to gargle and use a nasal spray with povidone iodine because it kills viruses, including the COVID-19 virus. Listerine is as good as betadine, he said. Also know that finding a nasal spray with 5% betadine povidone iodine or PVP1 is very hard, but if you're around a lot of people, he suggested it's worth the effort because most COVID viruses enter through the nose. I found some Q-tips already treated with it on Amazon, but they were very expensive. I also found a little bottle of the spray you could spray on your own Q-tips and use them. He said to use several times a day because the virus likes to stay in the nasal area where it's warm and moist to get stronger before heading up the nasal passageway. His second choice was Xlear nasal spray, which contains xylitol. Some people are afraid of the iodine will sting or stain. You don't need a script for any of these, available on Amazon and most pharmacies. Well, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I'm infected with a highly contagious virus that's caused a global pandemic and huge economic shutdowns, the first thing I do is shop for my medication on Amazon. So what is betadine? Betadine is a topical antiseptic. It's used for scrapes and bruises and that sort of thing. But it's also an active ingredient in certain douches, which might lead me to start making jokes in the future that people are gargling with douche juice. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I think I might just start calling it the douche juice. Douche juice. Perfect. So betadine is basically a very simple topical antiseptic, and they do make other products, of course. Now, this would be fine, but we have to understand that betadine themselves even have, over here, a COVID-19 FAQ. Can I use betadine antiseptic first aid products to kill the coronavirus? No, betadine antiseptic first aid products have not been approved to treat coronavirus. They should only be used to help prevent infection in minor cuts, scrapes, and burns. Betadine antiseptic products have not been demonstrated to be effective for the treatment or prevention of COVID-19 or any other viruses. Should be pretty clear cut. However, can I gargle with betadine antiseptic first aid solution? No, the product should only be used to topically treat minor cuts, scrapes, and burns. The first aid product should not be used as a gargle. Antiseptic products have not been demonstrated to be effective for the treatment or prevention of COVID-19. Can I use betadine antiseptic first aid solution as a cleaning solution to kill germs and viruses in my house? No, betadine antiseptic, you get the idea. But they do make a throat gargle. So what do they say about the throat gargle? Can I use betadine antiseptic sore throat gargle to kill the germs that cause COVID-19? No, betadine antiseptic sore throat gargle is only for the temporary relief of occasional sore throat. Betadine antiseptic products have not been demonstrated to be effective for the treatment or prevention of COVID-19 or any other viruses. So right from the manufacturer's mouth, like this is not what it's for. It's not supposed to be used for that. And if they were just purely of the mind that they want to make money, they wouldn't even have to make a statement about this. They're really wanting people to not do this, and there's a very, very specific reason why. The main ingredient in betadine is povidone iodine, also known as iodopovidine, is an antiseptic used in skin disinfection before and after surgery. Now here's one of the problems. Side effects include skin irritation and sometimes swelling. If used on large wounds, kidney problems, high blood sodium, and metabolic acidosis may occur. Not recommended in people who are less than 32 weeks pregnant or taking lithium. Frequent use is not recommended in people with thyroid problems. Now, for a blast from the past, some people might remember there was a notable wingnut that I addressed who really liked ingesting iodine.
Hey there, lovely people, it's Sunfruit Dan here. So I wanted to talk to you about how you can do certain things to make it easier to retain an enema.
Yeah, that fucking guy. Don't be that fucking guy.
And yeah.
So where did this whole idea that it could treat COVID come from? Well, when we first had the pandemic started, we realized that one of the main places that the virus is replicating so much is in the salivary glands. So if we could address the viral load that's inside the mouth, then maybe, possibly, that can help alleviate some of the contagibility of it. And so a lot of things were tested, and I mean a lot. But there are studies, such as this one, that we're going to have to take a look at and see if maybe there's a problem with some of these conclusions people are drawing. This paper is called Povidone Iodine Mouthwash, Gargle and Nasal Spray to Reduce Nasopharyngeal Viral Load in Patients with COVID-19, a randomized clinical trial. Now, right off the bat, I can tell you one thing about this study. It only has 24 participants, and that is not great. Not great at all. And there is also, even with just a small sample size, something inside this study that reveals why this might be such a big problem. But before we get to that, let's look at it a little bit deeper. We included adult outpatients having tested highly positive for SARS-CoV-2 ribonucleic acid by reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction in nasopharyngeal swabs within the previous 48 hours. Word salad translated, that means that they were testing them to make sure that they did, in fact, have a high amount of COVID detected in their nasal swabs. Patients with a history of thyroid disease were excluded, and this is actually very important for us to note. Now, we do get some interesting results in this study. It does show that all patients but one had a negative viral titer by day 3, but the use of PI had no influence on changes of viral RNA quantification over time. So that there might be something kind of to it, that through doing the swabs before and then after this treatment, it shows that there might actually be a reduction of COVID-19 in your mouth. But there's also a bit of a problem with that as well. Just because the virus can replicate in the salivary glands doesn't mean that the virus isn't still all over your body. It's not going to be able to cure COVID-19. It just might be able to sterilize your mouth. That's not really a treatment for the virus. It might help to mitigate some problems with you exhaling the virus, maybe, but then there's a really, really, really big problem here. All patients exposed to povidone iodine experienced unpleasant nasal tingling but completed the study. Thyroid-stimulating hormone elevation was observed in all patients after 5 days of PI exposure, exceeding the upper normal value in 5 patients, with a return to baseline values 7 to 12 days later. No modification in thyroid hormone or creatine levels was observed. Well, that seems kind of odd. What exactly does that mean? Well, there's a little bit more clarification down in the discussion area. Nasopharyngeal decolonization may reduce the carriage of infectious SARS-CoV-2 in adults with mild to moderate COVID-19. However, thyroid dysfunction occurred in 42% of the patients exposed to PI, with spontaneous resolution upon treatment discontinuation, as previously reported. So, again, to translate this into very basic terms, it does show that using this gargle, this mouthwash of a antiseptic and douche juice, that it did reduce how much might have been in your mouth. Doesn't cure it, but reduce how much is in your mouth. But it also causes thyroid dysfunction. You know, thyroid dysfunction. But whatever, it's fine. So is there potentially some sort of use for this antiseptic mouthwash, this douche juice? It's not very compelling, but what we do have evidence for is that you can absolutely get very sick by ingesting too much povidone iodine. We have case studies that have shown this. So the idea of just using this as an at-home cure is another example of people potentially poisoning themselves with something that they're desperate will help save their lives, when really they should just be listening to their doctor and science. Just a thought. And also, while I was looking this up, I found an expert reaction to this specific study that we looked at, and this is from Professor Martin Addy, Emeritus Professor of Dentistry, University of Bristol. The supposed randomized basis of the study has resulted in a dramatic age difference between the two groups. The average age of those treated was 33, while those untreated was 57, which is highly relevant in a disease where increasing age is a factor. In addition, there is no control intervention, which is common practice. The investigators should have used placebo solutions, for instance, water as a rinse, and nasal infusion. There's a well-known and well-studied placebo response, including from my own research, which can be large and in the order of 30%. Having extensively studied povidone iodine, published findings suggest it behaves badly in the mouth as it rapidly inactivated by salivary proteins, and I would suspect the same applies to nasal secretions. It's also notable that the PI group showed adverse thyroid function effects. This has been reported with mouth rinses of PI at only 1%, and in this study, some concentrations, albeit in an ointment, were at 10%. And this comes down to another one of the main problems with this, is that if you're treating yourself at home without the direction of a medical professional, you don't necessarily pay attention to concentration percentages. It's also just not a good idea in general. But even more so, if you do have a doctor who's telling you that you should use this to try and treat your COVID, get a new doctor. Now, I did my due diligence and I checked out the journal that this paper was actually published in. JAMA Otolaryngology, I butchered that so bad, Head and Neck Surgery, and it is apparently a pretty decent journal. The only thing is that this paper really shouldn't be used for making a clear, definitive answer. It's just a very beginning kind of stepping stone to like, hey, could this possibly do it? Oh, wait, we're causing thyroid dysfunction. Maybe we should just stop doing this. So, like with any of the other treatments that I've talked about in the past, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, and now betadine, I want these things to work. I really do. I want them to work because I want this pandemic to end. I'm desperate for this pandemic to just be done. Please, by all means. But is it compelling? No. Does it look like it's going to be a thing? No. Could you potentially really mess yourself up with it? Yes, you can. You absolutely can. And if there's any other way that I can maybe try and convince you that this is a bad idea, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, and betadine all have the same amount of evidence that they're going to cure you of COVID than Jilly Juice does that it will cure your cancer. Okay? I mean, is there any other way that I can really drive this point home? They are on the same level at this point. The only difference is that these have actually been thoroughly investigated and found to not really be a benefit, as opposed to Jilly Juice, nobody really takes seriously, so nobody's actually really doing any scientific studies on. So maybe it's a little different. A little bit. Anyway, that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for your attention. As I stated previously, I've been getting a lot more busy, able to make more videos. If you'd like to support the channel, you can hit me up on my Patreon thing. I am making more videos on my second and third channel. We're having a lot of fun over there. You can always join me on Twitch, twitch.tv/RealJeffHoliday. But lastly, from my family to yours, I hope you are well, I hope they're well, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. It's totally fine when I'm infected with a global pandemic. Ah, shit! Fuck me! Well, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I get infected with a highly contagious disease that has caused a global pandemic and massive economic shutdown, the first thing I do is I get all of my medication from...
One of these days you'll make it through a recording.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I get infected with a highly contagious virus that has caused a global pandemic and huge economic distress, the first thing I do is shop for meds on it.
Now what you gotta do is wait until Jeff's mid-monologue and then give him money.
Oh my god! Got it! I got it! I got it! Yeah! Ha!
That's exactly what I do at red_Rose89.